Today we're talking about engagement, we're talking about retention and engagement. Big subject, and we always like to start with our take on that, our definition. I think if you don't do that, then with 10 people in the room asking what engagement and retention is, and we'll have 10 different answers. So just to make it clear what we're talking about here today, we'll give you a definition. So engagement is the emotional, intellectual and social commitment to your company's culture, values and beliefs. And talent retention is your reward. So that's what we're talking about today. So just to kick us off, Gallup, who's an organisation, will run some huge surveys across the globe. Their most recent report, which came out this year from a study back in 2017, the worldwide engagement levels of 15%. Previous videos we've talked about engagement levels being at 30%. These are from 2015, 2014 surveys. So it's getting worse by the sounds of it. I think in that report as well, they said in the US that people are twice as likely to be engaged, so it could be up to 30% in the US. But overall 15% engagement levels worldwide. And part of me thinks, well, so what? Do I really need to know what the company next door to me or somebody in another country, what their engagement levels are? It's nice to know as background information, but really I need to know what my company's engagement levels are and ask you the question, do you know what your company's engagement levels are? That's the most important thing here to get your mind around.
To turn it on its head, if you think of whether it's 15% or whatever it is, because there's lots of different reports and surveys, and so the results themselves vary from report to report, from time to time. But as you said, the trend appears to be getting worse. But even if you think about it, 15% actively engaged, that's 85% of potential, or people who are potentially not engaged. So it's a big chunk of people to target with a view to improving retention rates and ultimately performance.
So yes, I think the key question is, do you know what your engagement rate is? And whatever it may be, it's going to impact your retention rates of your talent. And we've talked extensively about the cost of a good hire, the cost of a bad hire, high performing individuals, and how you retain those in your organisation.
Yeah, and just to add, Lindsay, as well, it's just, as you mentioned, what your company's engagement rate is, as long as you decide how you're going to objectively measure it, it's like the line in the sand, it's your benchmark. So at least you know if you're improving or not.
Yeah.
So
And people are pretty well switched on in organisations. When we run big surveys, you can ask the question of the audience, and they'll give you a feel for what they're experiencing. It might be their own personal levels or what they're seeing around them. So you will tend to know what your engagement levels are approximately.